Warning: some contents may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. I regret visiting that dark web forum, Part 1. What did I get myself into, and who was I even talking to? And that note that was attached to that brick. Damn it, I feel so disoriented by this entire thing. The day hasn't even ended yet. I should start from the beginning. Yeah, that's a good place. I have no clue where else to start anyway. By profession, I'm a journalist. I also have degrees in computer science and linguistics, but journalism has always been my first passion as a career. The little overachiever, my parents call me. Perhaps they have a point. I graduated from college at age 19 with honors, largely because I graduated from high school at age 16. And in my defense, I'm mildly autistic. It was tough to pull off, I'll admit as much. But by now, I couldn't care less if it takes years for people to figure it out. Being young gives me an edge though. More experienced people tend to be eager to tell younger people what they've witnessed or what they know. I still use my computer science degree though. As a hobby, I engage in ethical hacking, and as part of my job, I use the dark web. By now, many people have heard of the dark web. It's not dark as in nefarious. It's dark as in people are in the dark as to your identity. Most of what happens on the dark web is perfectly legal. In fact, the Arab Spring had a little help from the dark web. It was a slow day for me. My boss felt that I needed to slow down, seeing as I'd produced quite a few hard-hitting pieces that did very well. So, I had a chance to rest for a while under my boss's orders. So there I was, Monday morning, and with nothing to do for an entire week. Knowing myself, I have a habit of going nuts when I'm bored. So, I decided to open up the browser that I use to access the dark web. It didn't take me too long to get to my go-to places when I'm surfing there. There's seemingly always somewhere to go and someone to talk to. Many of the communities are pretty alternative. Not that it's a bad thing. An idea isn't by definition bad just because it falls outside of the mainstream. So, I got further into the forums. A few required a bit of typical hacker stuff to get into, but it didn't matter. The post still made me giggle a little bit. A few of my coworkers even looked over my shoulder to see what I was looking at when they stopped by. The thing about forums like this is that you can get lost in them, just reading the posts on the message boards. And that happened to me. And before I knew it, lunchtime had rolled around, and then it was 3. I effectively wasted much of the day, just as my boss planned for me to do. There were a couple of hours left before it was time to go home, so I still had time to see if there was anything interesting to investigate. I pressed on. And soon, I found myself in a forum that I have never been on before. I don't remember precisely how I got there. Perhaps that was the point. Many dark web sites are found by a combination of luck and curiosity, and there are so many layers to the dark web to begin with. It doesn't matter, and it didn't matter when I found it either. All I could focus on was the name of the forum, Black Bubble, and right next to the name was an actual black bubble. Clearly, the logo had been done up with Photoshop, since black bubbles don't actually exist, but the name Black Bubble itself was a little odd. It sounded like some sort of cliched name for a black magic cult or something. And names aside, I had never seen or been on the Black Bubble forum before, and I wasn't about to leave it either. That's what you do when you're a journalist and have new sources of potential leads. So, I started scrolling through the page. Some of the post titles were some of the strangest that I have ever come across, and I also found myself posting responses of scoring myself a lead for a good story. "I wish to be dissolved" was among the more memorable posts. It was posted by someone apparently wishing to have her skin cut off and then dissolved in acid. The disturbing implications about the mental state of the poster were the least of it. I didn't even get the point. Why would someone even want to try? Of course, I just had to post a reply, even if I knew nobody would reply to my questions. The next one I replied to that was memorable was titled, "Help, I think I have Jerusalem syndrome." I already knew what that was. It was a phenomenon where people get these religious-themed ideas after visiting Jerusalem. I've never met someone suffering from it, and I was under the impression that the people who had it were psychotic. So, I replied asking for more information. There were so many posts, but there were only a few that perked up my interest to the point where I posted a reply. "I know how to kill knowledge" was one, which had some of the most complex instructions that I had ever seen. And I wasn't about to try them out, but I still wanted to have a good story. There were also ones that I didn't reply to, but still stood out as being memorable. I don't remember what "This is where the bad kids go" entailed, but it still made me laugh. And there's a creepypasta out there called "Where the Bad Kids Go," which I had stumbled on when I did a feature on internet horror stories. And the list went on and on. Eventually, I realized that time really had passed, a good 90 minutes or so. It was obvious that I needed to take anything that I saw on the Black Bubble forum with a grain of salt, but it still made me excited to talk to the people who might respond to me. With the workday soon coming to an end, I decided to return to the top of the forum just so I could see the website a bit more. And I think I just wanted to see the logo again. I made sure to bookmark the link so that I could return to it. And with that, I closed out my browser, sat back in my chair, and then stretched out my chest. The rest of the day at my work wasn't unusual. Typical emails, office small talk, and more. The commute from New York City to my home in my small Westchester County town was also mind-numbingly normal as far as the New York metro area is concerned. I arrived home and quickly got changed into my PJs. I then stuck a ham quiche in the microwave, turned on the TV, and I started eating it along with a few blueberries. It was a typical evening routine, even for a slow day. The news was as normal as ever too, but I guess that's relative these days. There's always something to panic over, or have compassion or feel rage over. And as a journalist, I find that such things as the current events of the day annoying. I may have made journalism my career, but I did so because I wanted to expose the lesser-known issues in this world. You know, the kind that requires an investigative journalist. The beeping of my phone that told me that I had a new text message startled me a little bit. After all, text messages usually aren't sent my way on a Monday evening. But I still opened it up. "I see you found the Black Bubble forum, my dear darling Sophia Bonaparte." At that, I sat straight up. Whoever this was had just called me by my name. And how did this person know that I had visited the Black Bubble forum? It was on the dark web where anonymity was as close to guaranteed as anyone can get. I had made sure of it. It's a matter of personal routine. The computer thought I was all the way in Germany. And even after I got off the browser, I had checked for viruses. So how did this person know that I was on that site? And before I could do anything else, another text message came in. Sophia, a good name for a good woman. I'm honored to have come in contact with you. Who are you, and how do you know my name? I immediately replied back. Answers will come in time, pilgrim. Welcome to your journey. Sweat oozed down my brow at that, and I wiped it off. What kind of journey? I asked. I hope against hope that I wouldn't get a response, but it happened anyway. A necessary one, my dear girl. Answers to your questions will be found in time. And as soon as I was done reading that last message, something came crashing through the window. Glass flew every which way that I could think of, and luckily I wasn't hurt. I put my slippers on and rushed to see who or what had smashed it, and I looked out the gaping empty window frame to find that two people were running away from me. It was too dark so I couldn't get a good look at them. All I could tell was that one was male and the other was female. With how quickly they were running, there was no use in demanding that they stop. Instead, I just took a deep breath and cleaned up the glass. After putting plastic over the pane, I examined what had been used to smash my window in the first place. It was a brick, with a piece of paper stuck to it with rubber bands. I would have laughed at how cliched a thing that was, but it wasn't much to laugh at in light of the situation that I found myself facing. I took the piece of paper off the brick and read, A brief history of tomorrow. When anthrodynia rages and the earth becomes scorched with blood, that is when the progeny of the void come. The species must learn to read the road signs to survive. At that, all I could do was stare at it. That was the first time that I ever heard the word anthrodynia. I had to look it up. Apparently, it's a state of exhaustion with how terrible people can be to each other, typically causing a countervailing sense of affection for things that are sincere but not judgmental, are unabashedly joyful, or just are. But what kind of word is that to use in a message like that? But more than that, what are the progeny of the void? Coming after the earth becomes scorched with blood? Well, that's a little ominous if I do say to myself. I jumped when my phone beeped with another incoming message, and with a shaking hand, I picked it up and opened the text. It was from the same number. The journey begins now, my dear darling Sophia. Good luck. It's still Monday evening. I don't have a clue as to how I'm supposed to interpret any of this. Between a stranger texting me by name and telling me what I did earlier when my identity was hidden, and my window being smashed with a brick, I don't know what to make of that note. I also don't know what I'm supposed to do. There's no way my local police can help. They wouldn't know the first thing about how to help. And that's assuming that they'd believe me in the first place. Maybe there is something I can do. My boss knows that I use the dark web as part of my job. In fact, he uses it for work as well. There's also a co-worker I know who uses the dark web to the same extent as me. Someone named Nicola Fitzmaker. I probably need to look to them for advice. I regret visiting that dark web forum. Part 2. Shit. This entire situation just got complicated, and I'm not sure I want to know what's about to happen next. I showed up to work this morning, and the first thing I did was show the note that was attached to the break to my boss. My boss immediately texted Nicola, just as I anticipated he might do. My heart pounded a bit at the thought of meeting her. We didn't know each other very well, seeing as we'd never worked on an assignment before. The only reason that I knew she used the dark web the same way I did was because my boss mentioned it in passing. My boss and I jumped when she burst into my office. I wasn't too pleased, and I made sure she knew it. "If you deform the hinges, you're paying for that," I snorted. Nicola sighed. "I'm sorry. I just wanted to get here as fast as I could. What's this I hear about the progeny of the void?" My boss immediately shoved the note into her hands, much to Nicola's chagrin. But as soon as she read it, she paled and covered her mouth to keep her gasp quiet. "Looks like two schmucks in this office have a new assignment on their hands. I'll leave the two of you to it." And then he left, making sure to close the door behind him. "How are you holding up?" Nicola asked. I imagined us working together on an assignment for the first time going a tad bit differently. "Want to see the Black Bubble Forum?" "That's how you had this happen?" I received a few text messages that referenced it last night, and then that piece of paper was thrown to my window. I took my phone out before she could say anything, and Nicola took a deep breath and handed my phone back to me. "Ever visited the Black Bubble Forum before?" "Once, and back when I was in college. Can you get it up on your computer?" I immediately booted up my laptop and then opened up the browser, and to my satisfaction, it was still there on my bookmarks, and I clicked on it. Almost immediately, the first page came up. "What kind of page is this?" Nicola muttered. "That's what I thought too." Then I clicked on the link to the main forum, only for both of us to jump and gasp slightly. The post at the top of the page had the title, "The pilgrims called Sophia and Nicola shall open blind eyes." We sat there in silence for a solid 2 minutes. We both tried to speak, but we couldn't find the words. Whoever posted that knew our names, and I checked the settings, and nothing was out of place. The settings were as I always kept them, and Nicola said that she has not visited the page ever since she was in college. How did this person know our names? Then, my phone beeped, a notification of an incoming text message on the screen. My heart skipped a beat, and I had to rub my hand on my pant leg to get rid of the sweat, as did Nicola. And then I opened the message. It said, "Talk to me if you want to live." Nicola and I just looked at each other. What was that even supposed to mean? "Who is this?" I typed back. "I don't have time right now. Both of you need to come out to the front of your building. You're looking for a man wearing a green baseball cap and aviator sunglasses. You have 2 minutes to reach me." A thing like that is a hell of a way to get you motivated to act. I might not have believed the person who texted me that, but neither I nor Nicola was about to pass up on a lead like that. Nicola and I quickly grabbed our dictaphones, notepads, wallets, laptops, and phones, threw them inside our tote bags, and it was in only around 60 seconds that we reached our building's lobby. Sure enough, there was a man pacing outside, one wearing a bright green baseball cap and aviator sunglasses. He spotted us, and he immediately rushed inside. "Will you please tell us what's—" Nicola began, but the man interrupted her when he grabbed both of us by our wrist and started dragging us along. "We need to get out of here right now." There was no arguing with a tone like that. Even when he let go of us, we followed. Within only a few seconds, we had exited the lobby and crossed the street. We were halfway down the next block when we heard an enormous bang. All three of us jumped and turned around. Everyone on the sidewalks and in the streets stared at the building that Nicola and I were just in. We all gave a collective scream when what might as well have been laser beams rocketed through the sides of the building. I know, it sounds strange, but I don't know how else to describe it. The glass windows, starting at the bottom and ending at the top in straight lines, shattered. And yet the parts in between them were completely and utterly intact. Then, all at once, the floors right in the middle of the buildings explode to the side. All three of the floors, the glass and the concrete along with them, burst out to the side with practically nothing left in place where it used to be. My mind went fuzzy as I struggled to comprehend what I was witnessing. Then, the top half of the building crashed onto the bottom one, and then the entire structure, glass shards and paper and rebar and everything else that an office building would contain, started tumbling to the side. The man yanked me and Nicola by the wrist for a second time. There was no stopping and no time to so much as slow down. We bobbed and weaved our way through multiple streets, and sweat poured down my neck as we ran. I'm still not sure how we weren't struck by a car or bus. And finally, we were able to stop. As soon as we did, Nicola fell to her knees and threw up into a sewer grate. I took several breaths and my heart rate started calming down when I saw that she and I still had our tote bags on our bodies. I looked at the man who had gotten the two of us out there, and by that point, he had taken off the hat and sunglasses, revealing his brown hair and green eyes. This doesn't surprise me even slightly. It's okay. The two of you were lucky to have gotten out of that building when you did. Only because you texted me, I snorted. How did you manage to find me and my number? He snickered, but not out of any sense of joy or pleasure. Wow, you really do have no clue what you've stumbled upon. The only good news is I can help answer some of the questions that I'm pretty sure both of you have. Nicola looked up at us. She was still dazed, but the man's words still registered with her. The two of us exchanged a glance. Look, your co-workers and superiors are most likely dead, and there's no way you can explain what just happened to that building unless you have more information. Both of you might as well come with me. I looked at the sidewalk. I knew he had a point, but neither of us knew him, or even what his name was. The distinct feeling of ice pouring into my back made me turn around, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that Nicola followed suit. I immediately flinched when I saw someone in a hoodie realize that I noticed, and the figure walked around the corner. I sighed. There was nothing else to do. Well, you did say something about talking to you. Come on, Nicola. We need answers. And the man nodded. Come, then, both of you, follow me. Where are we headed? Nicola asked. Right now, we're headed to the Grand Central Terminal. I'll tell you more when we're not surrounded by people who might hear us. I'm on the train right now. We're soon to pull into the station of my hometown. I don't know how he knows which town I live in, but there's not much that I can do about it. I'm still processing everything that just happened. All I hope is that this guy really can give me and Nicola some answers. And here are the top comments from my last video. And here's the riddle for this video. Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.